FaXx, what's happening, bro? We on never fade. EP8, we're over EP7. We got over the hump, and this pod is flying. Why? Tell me why.
Oh, because you can never fade, man. Look, I'm going to start this episode giving us some flowers. Sometimes you got to do that. You got to give yourself some flowers. There's nothing wrong with a little pat on the back for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Why? Why? Because so far, man, if you listen to episodes 1 through 7, we don't miss. We're making calls and the calls are hitting, and I love to see it, dude. So I'm going to go through those. But how are you feeling right now, Mr.
I'm
Goodmonth.eth?
feeling great, dude. It's not about making the calls and hitting. It's about surfing the metas. That's what we do on Never Fade. We surf the metas. We see the sentiment. We see the pulse. We have takes. We take risk. Walk me
Yeah,
through it.
that's it. I mean, here's the thing, like, we're active participants in this ecosystem, right? We hold NFTs, we trade NFTs, we're following what's going on. And so here's some of the things that we've talked about leading up to episode 8. Earlier on, we were talking about Bored Ape Kennel Club, the doggos, how every ape should have a companion. We were talking about that when the floor on these dogs was 6 ETH. And boy, did they run. Watch those doggos run. They ran up to 11 ETH. They broke 11 ETH. They kind of pulled back. They're sitting at 10.8 ETH ahead of the upcoming BAYC mint. We're going to get more information on that on 111. Just for everyone listening, we're recording this podcast before that next update on 111. And there is going to be a lot of information there. So we are going to stand up at Twitter Spaces to talk more about that. But how you feeling about the doggos and the call there?
Feel great, man. Doggos is one of those things that you have to take a step back and realize what greed can do to you. These doggos were free. They were given as a free airdrop to people who owned apes. And there was a message. There's a message in the description on OpenSea that every ape needs a doggo. It was a message. It was a command. You're in the club. You're in the Bored Ape Yacht Club community. You were given a message. Do you listen or do you fade? You listen and you hold. And you know what? Yuga did us a gift because they said, just hold. We'll let you pack long-term CGs. We'll let you take long-term gains on this thing before we take it off to the moon. And really, what's happening in the last 7 days is it's been averaging above 10 ETH. That's the longest trailing average it's had over 10 ETH. And people are scared to not have a dog. People are scared of not having that tier 4, tier 2 status. There's a war for it. There was a squeeze. There have been
That's right.
4 outlier sales in the last 30 days. I've had 2.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is there's a squeeze on the dogs. And that's what we talked about, that the supply of the dogs, when you compare them to the supply of the mutants and the apes, it's another one of these like 1+1 arguments. Like, it made sense. We're seeing it in 4K. We love to see it. We also spent some time talking about Apecoin. And a lot of people, I think, were hesitant to stake Apecoin because just in general with staking and these kind of smaller market cap coins, they tend to get dumped.
A
And
lot of
we went into
Ponzi
this
talk. A lot of
lot of
Ponzi.
Ponzi talk. They thought, oh yeah, you stake, and then when you stake, people are gonna dump, and then you're gonna have impermanent loss, and you're gonna lose, by the virtue of the price action. However, we went on a thesis about why we thought that Apecoin was going to hold and why we thought it was in a sweet spot for staking. And you talked about hold pressure. And here we are. We were having those conversations when Apecoin was $3.50, and now it's pushing $5. It's in at $4.93 today. Look, that's what we love to see. I mean, how are you feeling with your Apecoin bag at the moment?
Yeah, great. I mean, I think the hold pressure came through. That was what we talked about. And hold pressure was the bet. It's like you knew there was going to be some sell pressure. You didn't really know how much buy pressure. So you had to bet on hold pressure. If you're in this game and you're compounding, you got to bet on hold pressure. And that is what has come up. The compounding is going on like crazy. And prior to that, we had We bet on some extra dopamine. We bet on the fact that Yuga was going to have an announcement. They did. They announced that a sync will be coming, which is Apecoin used for the mint. Now we don't know what that is, but the announcement hit. The whole pressure is getting buy pressure. Like I went to iMessage. Like when I go to iMessage to bring people in on this ape play, that's putting my conviction to IRL. That's outside of crypto. Like I was I was dead set on at least the first 90 days of this ape coin. And I said I think it nears $5 near the mint. I put it out there on Twitter, a screenshot of iMessage. We hit $5 today. Let's FG.
Let's go. That being said, typically around these events, around these mints, there is a lot of volatility. What do I think? I think once we get an announcement on exactly how ApeCoin is going to be used in this mint, the market's going to respond to that. They're either going to like it and it's going to cause more buy pressure, or maybe they're going to think it's not enough and it'll sell off a little bit. Either way, I do expect some volatility. And then, of course, after the mint, which again, we don't have this information. We're going to get it soon. It's supposed to be a multi-week interactive mint starting on January 18th. But I definitely expect some volatility on not just Apecoin, but also the NFTs.
Yeah,
Ahead,
one of my
kind of leading.
concerns,
Yeah.
and one of my concerns was pulling. People were going to pull out a Bendao. They're going to pull their ape out, cover their Bendao loans that they loaned out and that were locked up for collateral to buy more ApeCoin to take advantage of this mint. We do have confirmation that if the mint function is similar, if it's a claim, much like what other deeds and mutants were like, then Bendao does have a flash claim function. But for the people who have loaned out, using Pine Street or NFTFi or other platforms like that, like they are going to probably have to cover. But I think Bendao does have market share on loans staking. What we do know is that the doggos will be unstaked. The Bendao has a functionality where doggos get staked. I think Paraswap does as well, where you can stake a dog and people can bring Apecoin. So those things will get removed for the mint. So I don't think it has too much impact on Apecoin, but it will spike that yield pool. So it might actually create some buy pressure on whales to come in, grab a million ape, and drop it in when like the APR maybe goes up to 300% for a day. That'd be a nice coin.
All right. Then you came out of the woodwork in episode 7 out of nowhere and just said, I'm bullish on Solana and you called the bottom. You called the bottom. Your words were, I'm confident that $8 was a bottom on Solana. Bro, it hasn't even been 2 weeks. Solana's trading at $17. It pulled back to 16.38. It doubled, man. It doubled from that bottom call. Like, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, I wouldn't expect the 2X's to be called on a weekly basis, but we're gonna take the W's here. How you feeling about Solana at $16?
Yeah, I mean NFA, 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 DYOR, DYOR. Like, this is not financial advice. You should not expect 2x returns in less than 10 days. Like, it was timing was incredible. I felt, you and I talked when the FTX thing went down with Solana. We talked about it on the pod. You can go back and check out EP7 so you could hear the logic on it. But ultimately, it just was like 8 is so ground floor, bottom of the barrel, and that event-driven news of Utes and DeGods coming over to ETH, yet Solana rising up, and then they're having their days in the meme coin pumps, which I'm getting airdrop the meme coins, but I'm not dealing with them or touching them at all.
You're not touching the franc. You're not touching the bonk.
I hold the franc. I hold the bonk, but I don't need to flip it. I don't need to touch it. I don't need to swap it. I'm in for the culture. Solana, yeah. I'm a newbie in Solana. I'm out there clicking buttons like a degen. Hey, hackers, you want to come get my bags? Attack me on Solana. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I'll tell you who loved episode 7. The DeGods and Utes community, they loved episode 7 because we were bullish DeGods, and we pretty much said Utes would probably get carried along for the ride. And that's exactly what we saw this past weekend. There was a breakout in DGODs, trading to new all-time highs. They're trading now at about 540 Sol. Keep in mind that's at a new floor on Sol of 16 plus dollars. This is another big W kind of as far as the podcast goes. So enough about that and about what we kind of have said on the podcast.
D-Gods are
Let's look
bricked
at
up though. D-Gods are pumping. Utes are bricked up. D-Gods are bricked up. Bulk baby W's in the replies for Frank's throwing dubs everywhere. Dub. It's dub season. I don't even know. You throw out 2 zeros. You got the Utes. You throw out a dub. You got the wins. It's a big deal. It's a big deal in this Utes and D-Gods community right now. I haven't been this happy joining a community in a long time. D-God, MFers go hard and they're sound and they care. They give a shit. That's what people have been missing. When you joined the Bored Ape Yacht Club, people gave a shit. They wanted to build. They want to be together. And there are still those people, but like not as many as there used to be. And D-Gods, it feels like the group is here. Like, I want to go hang out with D-Gods. I want to go golf with D-Gods. D-Golf, hit us up on the Probably Nothing Cup. I got a challenge that we're going to go after. Let's go ace some holes for some apes. Let's
Yeah, I
see.
like
Let's
that
see how
take.
hard you really are at the D-Golf side. Like, I need some challenge there. Thing I want to call out to the D-Gods is y'all have diamond hands. That's proof. That's in the pudding. But you got to pull the W's out a bit harder when you come over to ETH. You can't be having your currency go up 2x and your floor price going down. That's not how we do it on ETH. When floor price runs up, we play the squeeze because we know Veblen goods get people's nose twitching and they want the Veblen. When they see the price go up on ETH, they want the Veblen. That's what you're going to have over there when you port this DGOD over. You can't play this chop as a collection. It's 1 ETH equals 1 ETH. If you paid 6 ETH for it as a DGOD on Sol and you come over and your money bag has now gone up 4x in fiat, your ETH needs to not fade itself. Take a lesson.
Yeah, so just looking at what else is going on in the NFT space with some of these blue chips. Look, 23 has been.
FaXx isn't gonna bite on that at all. I'm not gonna get any kind of oop to my dunk on that. Like, this is a big deal. I'm actually calling.
Your message was to the DGODs community so that they can process that. I'm a DGODs holder, but they're going to have to live and learn, and we still got some ways away from the chain. So I think what we're going to probably see there is, it depends. When Frank announces season 3, if that's bullish, when he does his announcement, we could see another pump. But between now and when the ETH chain hits, the bridge hits, there's a lot of time. So I do kind of think maybe there'll be some opportunities to snipe between now and then. We'll see.
I also want to call out, while we're talking DGODs, like we talked about at the time we recorded EP7, it was like pure instinct, intuition, tingly senses that DGODs was going to get new art. I'm like now 99.9% positive that Frank is bringing V4 art studies to DGODs. Like, the spaces that he just went on with the Utes community yesterday was talking about how the highest bar that you have to hop over as a founder is art. You make the art good, the JPEG's good. And he actually said on chain that like Dead Gods was bad art. And he actually went into his explanation of how they had to like convince people what it was.
But other people's, I only buy clean living JPEGs, man.
Yeah, but he was actually saying like it was nice to see him reflect on like how hard bad art makes your life. So on that podcast, he was talking about, they're in infra world and now it's all about the package. They have an announcement and now they got to package it right. Like, this art, and he's big like color theory. DGOD started tweeting out color theory like right after we recorded EP7. Like that art is coming. I'll call it on this podcast. D God's art is going to change.
Well, we'll be here for it. That's for sure. And I did hear Frank talking about that. And, let's see how high he can push that bar with the art. Another bullish thing that happened with Solana is apparently a wallet loaded up 2.8 million Solana. And that was Google swinging in with a bag. They're sitting on $45 million worth of Solana. That's what the reports say. I don't have a
Didn't
source
know.
outside of Twitter,
I
but on
didn't know.
Twitter, that's what people are saying. I'm not sure exactly how to confirm that, but it sounds like they got a bag. And this goes back to, again, like node verifications on their cloud services. They're participating in the ecosystem. I mean, this is all part of that pump, right? This is all part of that pump. We talked about it. But there's other.
You tell me we called bottom just minutes before Vitalik sent it and then Google bought it and Google's a known validator? Is that what you're saying, FaXx?
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm down. I'm down with all this activity. It all fits the narrative of kind of like the alpha we've been mining here. So it's making sense to me.
It's breaking
Um,
news to me. This is the first time I've heard of it.
hey man, it'll probably be news to some other people that listen to the podcast, and that's what we're here for. To share some of these important key things that are happening in the space. Look, there's other winners in 2023. Like already, if we look from 12/31 to today, which we're recording this on the 10th, we got BAYC. They closed out 2022 at a floor price about 69 ETH, and they're all the way up to 81 ETH. That's a pretty big move. Similar type of trajectory for MAYC. Also, Azuki. Azuki's up from 11 ETH to 14 ETH floor. We already talked about DGods. And so these blue chip NFTs, they're on the move. Now, interestingly, on OpenSea, the floor is 15 and a half. But when I looked on gem.xyz, it looks like LooksRare had some lower listings. So for anyone that's listening that is newer to the NFT space, you got to check these different marketplaces. And there's aggregators now, right? There's Gem, this new marketplace Blur is also serving as an aggregator. You got to check LooksRare. You got to check X2Y2, especially if you're, making a big purchase like this, because it can make a big difference. You could get a Florazuki for 14 ETH on LooksRare. When I checked last night, the floor at the time on OpenSea was 16. So
You also want to make sure that they're not flagged. Suspicious activity on a flag stolen asset, it makes it really hard to move. So Blur calls that out. There's some other, I think X2Y2 flags it too. But you definitely always want to cross reference on OpenSea, even if you're on a platform that promotes that it shows you. You just need to double check that.
Yeah, that's a good call out, because I don't believe last time I was on there, I didn't notice, but maybe they've done an update, because this would be a necessary update. Looks Rare wasn't showing like if it was flagged, because if you buy it and it's flagged and you go to OpenSea and it's got a red exclamation point says reported for suspicious activity, your stomach's going to drop. And that happened to a good friend of mine. He saw a dog on Looks Rare, a Bored Ape Kennel Club. It had a space backpack. Like those are very rare. He sniped it, and then he immediately realized that it was a flagged asset on OpenSea, and he was like, "Man, he's still sitting on that dog." I don't know if there's a process to resolve that. Definitely, like it's a problem in the space. But that's good alpha to share with everybody.
I mean, real quick, that like it's a problem in the space because those suspicious assets need to be time boxed, because it's I don't know if the seventh person buying a stolen asset should inherit the crime. It's an interesting thing, right? Like Mona Lisa was stolen, then bought back, then it's gonna get sold. It doesn't have a suspicious flag.
Yeah, it's a problem because, like, to your point, like the buyer who didn't know that it was stolen is a person ultimately getting punished. And so we're not going to solve that problem today. What we are going to do is talk a little bit more about kind of like the evolution of crypto, right? So we've been talking about Solana. Solana's an L1, but when we talking about DGOS, which is moving from Solana to ETH. And we also touched on Utes, which is moving to Polygon. We gave some takes on Polygon, but when we look at what's going on with some of the price action on these cryptos we've been following, we talked about Sol did like a 2x. We talked about Ape is on the move, but when you look at Polygon, Polygon's trading about 85 cents. So in this same time frame of like the beginning of the year, it's actually only up 13%. So people are not as excited about Polygon. It is going up, but relative to Solana, relative to Apecoin, these kinds of ones that are moving with purpose, it potentially still could be an opportunity here. I'm looking at Polygon. I'm trying to decide, like, do I need to take some exposure on a Polygon? And in order to get to that, I want to learn more about Polygon. So I was wondering, Goodmonth, can you put on your professor hat today? Can we get Professor Good out here on a podcast to give us a little bit of education on layer twos? What is a layer two? What's up with Polygon? What's up with Matic? What's up with wrapped ETH? This stuff is confusing to me, man. Can you simplify some of this? Break this down for us, please?
You gonna make me get a professor you, man. What's the so tell me real quick before I get into this world of L2, like what do you think L2 is? Like, and wrong answers only.
Yeah, a layer two is basically, my understanding is it's a chain that is depending on the provenance of an original chain. So in this case, Ethereum, it's well known to be like the most secure and most respected chain. So you can capture some of those attributes of the security, but then you can innovate on top of that and you can get some other benefits like speed and low cost. And that's what Polygon is an example of that, like a layer two.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is that. And it is kind of a child of a parent chain. So when you think of like a file structure, you have a folder and then maybe you have a folder in that folder and then you have files in that second folder. Well, that first folder, we're going to refer to that as the parent folder. And then the folder within that folder is the child one of that parent folder. And then you have files within that. The L2 chains are like children of the parent folder. Folder in this case would be a chain. A blockchain is infrastructure. So the way the L2 is the way L2s are designed, the use cases that they're trying to solve is, even though they have an infrastructure component, it's almost like they're trying to be the app layer of the blockchain. Um, but they're giving a backbone or an infrastructure for all of these applications to kind of load balance and have throughput at different rates. So we all know that Ethereum has a throughput problem. This is one of the brilliant things about the Ethereum organization that's led by Vitalik and team is that Ethereum has a lot of problems, a lot of scaling problems, and it happens when you bring more users in. But they don't solve those problems until there's a need. They think about those problems a ton. Like, if you are interested in the technicalities of Ethereum and you go read some of Vitalik's blog posts about his thoughts and the Ethereum org's EIPs or proposals that they're putting forward, and you read these thought pieces, they have problems solved and predictions for problems that will happen decades in advance. They just aren't going to implement them until there's an immediate need. And we can flash back and look a little bit at that implementation, like proof of stake. Like, they got to the proof of stake execution, I think, because the climate and environment FUD was so heavy and they had a solution for it. So it was time to implement it. And then proof of stake lays the foundation for all these other things. And one of those things is called sharding. It's a funny word, but sharding is the idea of rollups, and rollups is the idea of doing these computations on the side that then contribute to the main infrastructure. Why I bring this up is because L2s are effectively these massive networks of rollups that roll up within their own network and make them more efficient. So when you look at layer twos like Polygon, when you look at layer twos like Arbitrum, Optimism, they are more efficient chains than Ethereum. And that's by design. So these L2s allow for more frequent transactions, cheaper transactions per second, or more transactions per second, cheaper transactions. It allows all these benefits. The problem with L2s right now is the bridge. You know how hard it is to get people to have a wallet and secure that wallet and fund that wallet on L1. Now talk to them about getting across L1 to L2 and going across a Matic bridge. Like you just lost. You just lost anyone who doesn't know where their seed phrase is and exactly how much like ETH is in their wallet at this given moment, right? Like you lost everyone. They don't care. So that's the L2 kind of like dilemma, is the friction in the onboarding. But to your point,
So so why, like, because I've had this experience with the bridge, right? Where it's like it's kind of clunky, it takes time.
like 45 minutes, sometimes to an hour, it can be
It's kind
scary.
of that's scary, right? And it can be very confusing. And so I mean, is this something that they can fix? Is this something that should be optimized? If Nike and Starbucks and all these big companies are coming into Polygon, like, why do we still have this problem with the bridge?
Yeah. So the problem with the bridge is that there hasn't been a solution that's yet to be implemented that inherits the provenance of a L1 chain. So let's take an example. Let's get out of blockchain for a minute. Let's say that you have a diamond, right? You bought a diamond from a jeweler, and now you want to take that diamond to a diamond exchange downtown. You go to the diamond exchange and you go exchange that diamond to a different merchant, not the one you bought it from, but a different one. They're going to inspect that diamond, and diamonds have standards, right? They have facets, they have visibility, they have cut and color. And there's this standard and there's this price per standard. And it will vary from market to market, but it's marginal. But there's a standard. And the proof of diamond is there. It's physical, it's in your hands. And the judgment of that standard is in the eye of the beholder, of the merchant, right? The merchant will be the judge of that standard. Now, you could have, like, if you don't know what you're talking about, like, you could go to a bad judge and they could be like, oh, yeah, this is like VVB, and we don't like this. Like, you're not going to get this, and they could rip you off. But, odds are you bought it from somebody, you trust that person, you were told what that standard was, you wanted to match up on the other end. Once you have it match a second time, you're like, okay, I didn't get like fooled. I know like that standard was met. And its proof is in the diamond. Problem with NFTs now, that diamond has to, like that NFT that represents that diamond today, has to actually move to an L2 bridge for it to hold its provenance. Now, that's why bridges are created. So you could take a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT and bridge it over to an L2, and it's the same actual NFT, but it's wrapped in the L2 technology so that it can still operate on that chain, but the core NFT is actually removed from L1. That is why bridges are created. That's why they're needed. Bridges are dangerous because just like moving a diamond is dangerous. You can get in a car accident. The diamond can fly out through the through the sunroof, or if you're FaXx, you're top down Maybach. Like that's what happens. So moving diamonds is dangerous. Moving things is dangerous. Moving NFTs is dangerous. Bridges are subject to attack. Bridges are subject to failure. Bridges are subject to other things. So what needs to happen? So here's where we need to get to remove that friction. Essentially, we need to eliminate moving the real NFT or token between chains. Essentially, we need to get to the point where you can port or transfer a new NFT that inherits provenance, attributes, data, code onto that chain so that it's not wrapped. So Vitalik has a beautiful piece on this. He wrote it about a year and a half ago, and there's tons of commentary in it. It's a great read, and he has the solution. They have the solution. They're going to implement this solution. It's just not time yet. But we're going to enter a multi-chain world, and it's not really going to be a world where it's consistent of all of these assets born on one chain, bridged to another, and wrapped in that chain's technology. In fact, it's going to be data that is authenticating provenance and wrapped in that technology, so it doesn't have to leave chain. It's almost like teleporting to these L2s, to these different chains. You're not actually moving the asset across the bridge. You're authenticating it to be wrapped and tie back to its provenance, and therefore be able to not just move an NFT to multi-chains, but be everywhere. That's why this alpha coming out about, other side being on Polygon or Utes going to Polygon doesn't matter. Eventually, in the long run, if you're a really long-minded person, it doesn't matter whether you're on Polygon, Arbitrum, or Optimism. You're going to be able to move across L2s as you are able to take your like master authentication, which is called a Merkle tree, and live on other chains with their wrapper without having to move your asset. So other side
Interesting.
might start on Polygon, but it's going to be interoperable with other L2s. I guarantee that. I bet on that. 100% will happen. If something comes out in Optimism that's fire, like amazing. Optimism has this project that is like a dope project that has this provenance and people are all about it. It's going to get its way into the other side. It doesn't have to bridge. Like it will be able to port its way in regardless of what the other side is on. And I don't think it's going to matter long term where the other side provenance is. If the other side's provenance is on ETH, fine. It will be able to live in a Polygon Arbitrum Optimism world as long as there's a wrapper that can ingest that transfer.
Got it. Professor Good with the alpha. Love to see it.
It's
So
long term.
ultimately,
Like, it's long term. Like I wouldn't make any plays. Like I'm not buying Polygon. I'm not trying to like think Polygon's next up. Like it might be next up in a short term. It might have a run in the short term, but I'm long. Like I'm investing where I feel like 10 years from now, I could be like, still got the bag, still packing the bag. I'm not feeling that way with Polygon. I'm not feeling that way with Optimism or Arbitrum.
hold on though, because like I get what you're saying. Like long term, it's multi-chain. I mean, the reality is in present day, it's already kind of getting multi-chain, but there's a lot of I feel like beef. There's like chain on chain hate. Like we
Yeah.
got basically Polygon people that want to see Solana die. We got Solana people fudding Polygon, right? But like we're gonna try to like rise above this and be practical and say, actually, in reality, we need to be knowledgeable about these different chains. And in the near term, in the short term, like you're saying it like it's nothing that the other side is going to be on Polygon. Do we know that? Is that confirmed?
No, but I think that Polygon's in bed with Yuga. They sponsor Ape Fest. They have a little, booth there. They're close. Like Polygon's not, they're no fools, right? They gave a grant to Frank to capture that audience over to Polygon. Polygon's not going to let like Animoca and Yuga launch the other side without being at least interoperable, if not the short term host.
Okay, so this makes a lot of sense. You're saying from going to Ape Fest and seeing the collaboration and sponsorships or whatever's going on between Polygon and Yuga, you kind of naturally assume that the other side will be on Polygon, which look, I think that this is a big deal. So when you look at other side potentially being on Polygon, then we look
Short
at
term,
Utes going to Polygon, and
short
then we
term.
look at the charts and we say, gosh, some of these, you know, coins that we're watching, they're breaking out. Polygon hasn't broken out really. I kind of smell opportunity there. Like, why in the short term are you not more bullish on Polygon?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a 10B market cap. They're 8.6 something fully diluted, I believe. I'd have to be fact checked on that. They have a fixed supply, so it's something that I hold. It's something that I have, but I'm a long-term buyer, right? I pack long bags and I don't think that there's going to be one L2 to win them all. I think L2. Now, I think you should have a bag of all L2 coins. I think you should have Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, and what other L2 that can communicate back to Ethereum or Solana. If I'm not aware of any L2s on Solana, I don't think they don't have the L2 problem on Solana, right? Because they're quick transactions and cheap transactions. So I don't think Solana has an L2 or needs one. But I just don't think that one L2 horse is gonna win it.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to keep digging on this
Yeah.
because
I
I
think
hear a
L1
lot
is
of
canon. I
people.
think ETH is canon. I think if you think you're gonna make a big bag off of Polygon, I would really challenge you why you're not stacking ETH. I would really say that. Like if you think it's gonna be that disproportionate, where you think it's gonna be an ASIM bet in the short term on Polygon, but you don't think that ASIM is gonna trickle down to the parent, that is supporting it, which is the L1, I would be like confused.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It is confusing, right? Because let's differentiate a little bit between like wrapped Ethereum and Matic. Like to be honest with you, like half the reason that I don't even like to deal with Polygon and Matic is because that differentiation to me has always been like confusing. And I think what's happening with Ethereum is it's kind of becoming the most stable of these altcoins, right? Almost to the point where it kind of tracks ROI a little bit with Bitcoin, but then these other altcoins will pop. So I'm thinking like if I'm bullish on Ethereum and I see these big brands, Nike, Starbucks, Yuga Labs, Utes moving on to Polygon, like why wouldn't we think that Matic would subsequently experience some significant upside?
I think you're gonna need liquidity to funnel into Polygon, to Matic. You're gonna have that. I think Utes will drive eyes. It will drive people in there. It will drive wallets. It will drive transactions. It will drive interactions. Their launch pad that they're planning, the multiple mints and having the attention economy on Polygon, it will drive some liquidity there. But the I don't I want to be clear, like Polygon is going to get more traffic than it has today. Polygon will go up if there's more traffic. I think there is a play there, and if you're playing in the world of crypto and you want to make smart bets, I think you should have a bag of Polygon by your side. I don't think it's going to be more asymmetrical on Polygon than the L1 that it's derived from. It's like if Polygon were to drive a bull run, ETH, punks, apes are going to go higher. It's not going to overthrow or topple. It's mainly dependent on the provenance of L1 and ETH. So I just think that, going crazy on a coin that is priced below $1 versus getting that same amount of money in ETH, I think it's a psyops game. It's a chase I don't want to play. Like, I would rather buy 90 cents of ETH than 90 cents of one Matic.
Interesting.
Solana's different. Now, Solana's different. Solana and ETH, two L1s, like not connected, no derivative layers, not denominated in the same currency, different thing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you something interesting. So I got my Utes hoodie on, right? I was wearing it this morning.
Yeah.
And my son, he's like, "Hey, Dad, what's that say?" Utes. He's like, "What's a Ute?" So I pull out my phone and I show him my Ute. Which is a clean Ute, by the way.
Dude, clean. So clean. Stolen robe. Hotel robe.
Chilling. And what does he say? He's like, "Oh, it's like the new Bored Ape." Ooh, that's what he said. And I was like, "Oh, that's a take. That's a take.
You know
from
what
a 7-year-old.
I was driving this weekend to the cabin, and my oldest was looking like a Ute. He had an orange hoodie on. He had some like Ray-Ban looking sunglasses. Not Ray-Ban. I don't buy a kid Ray-Ban glasses, but Ray-Ban looking. And he was just looking like a Ute. And I told my wife, I said, "Hey, look at him. He's looking like a Ute." And because I showed her them, and she's like, "Yeah, he is." And he's like, "Hey, what's a Ute?" And so I pulled out my phone. He's 4, and he goes, "Yeah, I look like a Ute. I like that. Those things are cool." And so I'm like, "Yeah, you hit with those things." My son also calls everything an ape. So if it's an NFT, it's an ape. I love it. Doggos, looking at doggos. Yeah, I like that ape. That's a good ape.
There you go.
He thinks an NFT is called an ape.
Yeah. He speaks in apes just like his dad.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. RP got that heartbeat. Bridge built to the swamp, now the apes are barking. Picking up bananas like you ever heard a cat laughing. They on time sweeping. What's left? Got a red disease, call it out of weight. Headed down from the treehouse with a floor.